Q News Tonight, the world's first live daily gay evening news show. Last week, 103,000 of you watched our show live in YouTube. It's 7 p.m. Thursday, March 5th, 2020. We begin tonight by queuing up Breaking Q News. We report tonight that President Trump makes up false claims about coronavirus on a call with Sean Hannity on Fox News. To show you what happened, we've prepared this. Watch this.
Well, I think the 3.4% is really a false number. Now, this is just my hunch, but based on a lot of conversations with a lot of people that do this, because a lot of people will have this, and it's very mild. They'll get better very rapidly. They don't even see a doctor. They don't even call a doctor. So if, we have thousands or hundreds of thousands of people that get better just by, sitting around and even going to work. Some of them go to work, but they get better.
We have thousands or hundreds of thousands just getting better by sitting around. And then he suggested, hey, it's okay to go back to work. He makes the claim in the Hannity interview on his cell phone last night that the 3.4% figure that is being reported is false. And his hunch is people will get better because of many conversations he has had. Every impromptu conversation and statement he made on Sean Hannity last night violates the guidance that the vice president, the coordination of HHS, and the CDC is recommending the President of the United States violated last night on Sean Hannity. Number one recommendation, you isolate yourself, you wash your hands frequently, and if you're suspected of contracting, you are in isolation, and President Trump violates all of that. What did y'all make of it was so astounding what he did last night on Sean Hannity?
Nothing surprises me anymore, but what I found more disturbing than anything was President Trump completely discredited the facts surrounding coronavirus that are being put forth by HHS, the CDC, and the World Health Organization, career individuals that have done this for decades and decades, and essentially writing off this disease and saying that really it's not 3.4%, it's less than 1% of people that are really affected by this in a way that they can die. It's very concerning because I think, again, I said it in the past, I'm going to say it again today, this is going to be the number one reason why Donald Trump does not get reelected in 2020 is coronavirus and his mishandling and the misinformation that he perpetuates out of the White House.
I'm not sure how you could be surprised by him having this kind of behavior. This is exactly what we've seen from him, not just for 4 years in the electoral basis, but we've seen this from him since he's been in public eye entirely. This is who he is at its core. He will lie even if it means that hundreds of thousands, millions of people will die. There's absolutely nothing that should be surprising about this, and he is going to be the reason that so many people see their end.
When I watched the Hannity interview, if you call it that, it was what president calls in and has an impromptu conversation like this. When he was making these broad, outlandish statements on coronavirus, which is the number one medical health risk in the entire world, his rejection of science became so crystal clear. I have a hunch. I heard in conversations, and it made me stop and think, well, this is the same man that is rejecting climate change, is rejecting scientific study in HIV and other areas. This is likely one of the most anti-science presidents we have ever elected.
Do you think that he actually feels all of these ways, or do you think that behind closed doors he is isolating himself? He is washing his hands more frequently. He is doing some of these behavioral changes that are required.
He made the comment, and it was quite a funny joke, that his staff has been trying to get him to stop touching his face so often. And he made a comment that it had been very difficult for him to stop touching his face. And of course, you make the obvious.
It's hard.
joke.
You have to get that last little bit. That
All right.
Adderall doesn't go away itself.
Right. Well, it is our breaking Q news tonight because it was just astounding to us, this Hannity interview that President Trump did last night. So, America, we say good evening again. It's 7 p.m. Thursday, March 5th, 2020. It's time to queer up the news. We are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your stories tonight. Next on Q News Tonight.
Tonight on the world's first live daily queer evening news show.
Tonight's news about the gay community and the news from an LGBTQ perspective. Are our gay stories important to you? In headlines, politics, entertainment, gay culture, travel, religion, and more. Reported by respected anchors.
Out of the closet and into the headlines on Q News Tonight.
Welcome to Q News Tonight. We are live and unscripted, so anything can happen. Tonight we bring you the news of and a perspective from the LGBT community. I'm your anchor, Al Ferguson, and these are my co-anchors, Aaron Darr and Napoleon Plays. So join us as we queue up the news. We queue up Vote 2020 tonight to report on election updates. Today, Elizabeth Warren is out, and Bernie will concede to Joe Biden. Before we tell you the details of both, we prepared this package. Watch this.
If at the end of the day, it turns out that Vice President Biden is going to have more delegates than you do heading into the convention, will you drop out?
Of course, going to drop out. He will win. I mean, we'll run through, I suspect we will run through the process. I think people have a right to vote. But if Biden walks into the convention or at the end of the process has more votes than me, he's the winner.
And that's true whether or not he has a majority or just a plurality.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what I've said. Look.
So this interview is actually really huge. I think it is personally. As many of us know, Bernie Sanders ran for president in 2016. He's yet again running again. And I think him staying in the race so long in 2016 really hurt Hillary. And from the sounds of it, I think that Bernie sees the writing on the wall, that there's about 10 states that are coming up between March 10th and March 17th. That's going to be a huge portion of the delegates. In Florida alone, Biden's winning is said to be at 61% right now. Sanders at 12%. So in 2016, Hillary won 8 out of these 10 states. After March 17th, I think that we could actually see Bernie Sanders perhaps concede and get out of the race rather than waiting all the way until the convention. Senator Sanders, of course, is saying that he would concede to Vice President Biden if it seems mathematically that he's not going to be there to get the 1,991 delegates needed to get the nomination. Also, in terms of Vote 2020 news, Elizabeth Warren is out. She's completely suspended her campaign.
Which we called last night.
She's not made any endorsements yet. I don't know if I really expect her to make any endorsements, but it's really sad because outside of Tulsi Gabbard, she was the last woman, viable woman, if you will, that was in the race. So we see this, and then, of course, Mike Bloomberg today filing paperwork to create a super PAC, and he's gone on record saying that he will implement up to $2 billion of his own fortune, which is what the Trump campaign is expecting to raise and to allocate in towards his reelection campaign in 2020. And Bloomberg's already just going to have that $2 billion war chest sitting there to take on Donald Trump. If I was Donald Trump and the way that Democrats are unifying and with Bloomberg's money and with Bernie hopefully being a team player, I'd be scared.
It's interesting that you say that Bernie is being a team player. I think that these are optically the things that he is supposed to say right now. He can't say, I'm going to stay in the race, even if there's absolutely no way for me to win. He
did in 2016.
That's true. And maybe this is showing, if nothing else, better PR skills that he has now versus before. And, of course, we did just see Elizabeth Warren, obviously, she just did drop out. But we were saying that she was saying maybe she would stay in the race. Maybe she would just rely on the superdelegates, which Bernie is saying that he's not going to do. But it doesn't sound to me like it's really sincere. Maybe it's just that I am still remembering 2016, but I don't think that he is going to drop out. I think he's going to hold on to that until the very last possible minute that mathematically it makes sense, which is a lot farther than the date that you said before. And he's going to try to stay in for as long as possible.
He said something in the Maddow interview, though, that was really critically important. Maddow added in plurality at the convention, meaning that even if someone doesn't get the majority of votes, you will concede to Joe Biden if he is the plurality candidate. And he did something that he never did on Hillary Clinton, and that was because he was so opposed to the 500-plus superdelegates for Hillary Clinton. So he's done something that is completely new. One last thought in terms of what we have lost in terms of Elizabeth Warren and the last viable female candidate, Bloomberg. What a difference 2 weeks makes.
Yeah.
This is a completely different world. And one thing that I want to bring back to the LGBT community's focus, is this not the absolute Donald Trump nightmare? Because they want Bernie Sanders to be the candidate, and this is why Ukraine and the pursuit of Joe Biden's son was so important to them, because they know Joe Biden is a key figure to the defeat of Donald Trump on November 3rd. The stars are beginning to align. You can feel it in the Democratic Party, and this is Donald Trump's worst fear. Watch what happens in the next couple of weeks. We continue talking about politics, and we give a point of view from the Republicans. We are going to do a special with Joy Villa, a representative from #Walkaway, the Republican point of view that is designed for blacks, women, and the LGBT community. #Walkaway is the organization, and we've done an interview. We're going to show you this special, and we've given you a little tease of what we're going to do. Watch this. We have a lot to explore. This is a big year, and we wanted to explore Walkaway.
I love that. Thank you.
It's an opportunity for us to hear your point of view. I said to Joy before we started the interview that we were going to explore the batshit crazy
That's right.
that Walkaway represents. It's been quite interesting.
It's been so much fun. I've had a really good time.
Hope our viewers have learned a lot. The Republicans and the log cabin Republicans suggest that Donald Trump is the most pro-LGBT president in history. And one of their strategies is an organization called #Walkaway. It is designed for the black community, for women, and especially the LGBT community. A design to pull a specific set or percentage of voters away from the traditional Democratic roles. Joy Villa, very famous as a representative of #Walkaway, who wore the MAGA Make America Great Donald Trump dress at the Grammys. We're doing this special March 12th, next Thursday at 8 p.m. And if you want to understand what the Republican strategy is for the LGBT community, you for sure want to tune in. And you can see in the interview, I asked the question about your community seems to be batshit crazy, and her answers on that and many, many others. What do y'all think about what we're doing with Joy Villa?
Well, in terms of strategy, I can't say that I understand hers. Just from watching the couple of excerpts that I've watched, I mean, it's like roaches for Raid. I mean, it literally makes no sense. I mean, this is an individual who happens to say that she is an ally of the LGBTQA community, a person of color, and a woman at that, yet she's voting against her very own interests.
No, just following in the president's footsteps. I think it makes complete sense. She's just repeating that same kind of level of responsibility.
It's very important. Above all else, we want to give a platform for communication and give them the opportunity of expressing their point of view. And the LGBT community wants to learn what the Republican and President Trump's strategy is for November 3rd, and Joy Villa gives us a glimpse into what they're going to try to do. We highly encourage you to tune in March 12th, next Thursday at 8 p.m. for our special on #Walkaway. And by the way, next week we're going to give you all of the details. We're very excited to report that Aaron Dar is going to have a special watching party, viewing party. We can't wait to all participate in it. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I'm going to take a shot every time she says the word Trump or racist. Same thing.
We continue by queuing up the USA tonight and tell you a related coronavirus story that really brought us to a complete stop. The Ultra Music Festival in Miami, one of the largest music festivals in the world that would take place this spring, has been canceled or postponed because of coronavirus. Before Napoleon tells us about that, we've prepared this. Watch this.
City leaders telling us that they decided to engage in these conversations with the organizers of the Ultra Music Festival, citing public safety concerns.
It's a real threat.
Standing side by side, Miami City Commissioner Joe Carollo and Miami Mayor Francis Suarez said they are in talks with Ultra Music Festival organizers about postponing the heart-thumping electric music festival as the global coronavirus outbreak continues to develop.
You guys heard Al was saying that this is one of the biggest music festivals in the world. Well, let me give you a little bit of numbers to back that up. There are over 70,000 people that were expected to attend this event this year. It's the 21st year. It was supposed to happen March 20th to 22nd. There were attendees that were going to be from over 100 countries. So you can see as it relates to corona and spreading the disease, how that might have been a significant factor in determining that they didn't want to put this on, or that they potentially indefinitely did postpone this. Now, this is not a gay event. In fact, it's known for being apolitical, for having very little say, even in 2016, in what's going on in the general political world. But there are a lot of circuit parties that are involved in it. Our very own friend, Power Infinity, is leading the way right now with spinning some tunes for it right now. But it's not a gay event. So really how this affects us is to see that part of our community and people that attended are marginalized. But these big events, the Olympics, other things are being canceled. Huge events, and many years in, are being canceled. Did you guys plan on going to any of these?
More specifically, Napoleon, my question is, were you surprised that Ultra was canceled this weekend? The National Task Force Gay Circuit Party, Winter Party, starts in South Florida, in Miami. It is continuing. The risk here, or the concern of risk, is the tight proximity of so many people together. Did it surprise you that Ultra is canceled, but Winter Party is not?
Well, Winter Party is sooner. It's a couple of weeks sooner. And I think if Winter Party happened to be later, like it was stating, then it probably would have been canceled as well. Right now, we're in enough of a stage that's saying that you didn't know what the effect could be, or that there weren't enough people that were testing positive for corona is an actual case you could make. You couldn't make that on the 22nd.
I'm curious to see how this actually affects the Democratic primary, because on March 10th, so next Tuesday, Washington State is going to have its primary, and Bernie Sanders is leading in this state, and I'm wondering if Bernie's actually even going to go campaign there because of this.
Primaries, prides. We could see this affecting a lot of the stories we're doing this year significantly. Yeah. Well, that's all right. So we'll continue to talk about it. We'll continue to report, like I said, on prides and everything that's going on if there are big LGBT events happening. Because we want to know, are LGBT voices important to you? Can the news of the world have a gay community perspective? If you, like us, think the answer is a resounding yes, then like and subscribe to us to Q News Tonight on YouTube and Facebook. We want to know, do our gay cultural stories impact you, your friends, and your family? Start a watch party. Get your circle involved in our conversation, as it supports the whole gay community.
Tonight at Q News Tonight, we queue up the USA, and we report tonight that Virginia has become the 20th state and the first state in the South to ban conversion therapy. Before Aaron tells us about that, we've prepared a package. Watch this.
Virginia has banned licensed professionals from performing conversion therapy on LGBTQ minors. It's the first southern state to do so. Conversion therapy aims to change a person's sexual orientation or gender identity and has been linked to depression and suicidal thoughts. House Bill 386 passed the Virginia General Assembly earlier this year. Governor Ralph Northam, who is a pediatric neurologist, signed it Monday. Virginia is the 20th state to ban conversion therapy.
So Virginia has become the 20th state and the first in the South to ban what is called conversion therapy. This is House Bill 386. It's expected to be signed by Democratic Governor Ralph Northam, and it's going to go into effect on July 1st. The governor has gone on to state that conversion therapy sends a very harmful message that there is something wrong with who you are. It's also gone on to state that this discriminatory practice has been widely discredited in studies and can have a lasting effect on our youth, putting them at greater risk of depression and suicide. no one should be made to feel that they are not okay the way that they are, especially not a child. And he is very proud to sign this into law. Elections have consequences. I mean, this is the first time since the late 80s, actually, that the Democrats have controlled the House of Delegates as well as the state Senate and the governor's office. So all three parts of the state legislature, and the Democrats in Virginia are putting forth some of the most pro-LGBT legislation we've ever seen.
Your observation begs the question, what the hell is going on in Virginia? Over the last decade, my family is from Southwest Virginia. Over the last decade, the state is completely different than it was a decade ago.
You know, it's interesting, too, because, I mean, even looking at the Democratic primary just this last week, 1.3 million Democrats turned out to vote in this primary. I mean, the Trump campaign is planning on spending a lot of money because it's worth 13 electoral college votes. The Democrats are going to totally take Virginia. It's amazing the inroads that we've seen Virginia, and it gives me hope for states like Florida and Texas.
Yeah. Well, we continue in queuing up religion tonight, and we report in Louisiana, a pastor's sign meant to shame a lesbian couple leads to protests outside his church. We've prepared a package on this to show you. Watch this.
We are a diverse world. We're a diverse country, a diverse city, parish, state.
The main message a group of protesters outside of Bossier Church of Christ want to convey.
Love is love. We love everyone. We love the minister of the church that we're gathered for here. But we do hope that he can find it in his heart to bring down the hateful sign that is breaking the hearts of his neighbors.
The sign she's talking about is this one that reads, "God forbids homosexuality. So should we."
We're ending that video on the sign of the pride flag with a giant international no sign, where a pastor of a local neighborhood put this on his lawn. The local lesbian couple came home surprised to see this because they were stating that they had baked cookies and given them to him, that they had their families interact with each other, that all of that was thrown out the window just because he learned that they weren't roommates but were actually a lesbian couple. Cromwell, the pastor, stated that it's his responsibility to stand up for the biblical principles, though I'm reminded of things, I'm not Christian, but of love thy neighbor, of being good to each other. I'm not sure what you would do. How would you feel? I mean, I know you were raised very, very Christian. If someone that you were looking up to just had these opinions of you suddenly, knowing who you were.
I think that's one of the things that you had actually said this in a previous show, and I never really thought of it before. I think one of the ways in which the LGBTQ community in America and abroad, all over the world, is hurt the most, it's actually by religion, by being told that they don't belong, that they can't have a loving relationship with the Lord. And to see stories like this, it hurts me personally as someone who's raised Baptist for 19 years of my life, being told that I didn't belong, that I was going to go to hell for being gay. And we just have to keep knowing that love trumps hate. I mean, really.
Yeah. Fortunately, that was part of the protests. A lot of people were there to support this couple, and maybe the pastor will learn the lesson here.
In this story related to religion, we want to report tonight that the Happening Out television network, Q News Tonight specifically, It's Happening Out specifically, is supporting a new project to support religion in the LGBT community. Here in South Florida and Fort Lauderdale, there is the largest progressive LGBTQ plus church in the entire world, called the Sunshine Cathedral. And we are assisting through a major commitment and grant to be able to support their mission on Sundays to provide services to the U.S. and world community. As a result, it will have its first broadcast this Sunday at 10:30 a.m., and we're showing you a little glimpse of how their new service will open. Watch this.
we are just so excited to have this wonderful partnership with Sunshine Cathedral and what it's going to bring here in the near future. Because with Q News Tonight, we are part of the Happening Out television network as well. We are the Daily News. But you can also watch the best of entertainment live every Monday night at 8 p.m. on happening.fun. We are also part of the most popular live gay TV show in the world every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. on It's Happening Out. It's a talk show like television's The View with a whole lot of gay people.
We queue up gay culture tonight to report on Twitter's debut of a new feature called Fleets. We've prepared a package. Watch this.
Okay, so here's how fleets work. There's going to be a new interface at the top of your Twitter feed, as you can see here. Yes, it looks just like Instagram stories. You tap on a profile to view fleets. You tap on your own profile to create a fleet. A fleet is basically a tweet. 280 characters, you can add an image or a GIF that gets posted to your Twitter profile photo and not the main Twitter feed and stays there for 24 hours. You cannot retweet fleets. You cannot like fleets.
Let me start by saying I'm very excited that we can report gay culture like Twitter. Now, as we're moving forward, what you might have seen was that Fleet, a little enema, was shown on screen many times. And now that is because in the UK, Fleet is a popular douche among many gay people. So every time that they heard this, there were a lot of tweets on Twitter about this enema and the relationship of that, about douching. I know Aaron's smiling, thinking of the jokes right now, or maybe just of his personal time. Now, as we're getting into why this is something that's of news, Twitter has upped the game, and they're getting into what Snapchat and Instagram do, and they're not saying that that's what they're doing. They have these short stories, these short tweets that can disappear after 24 hours. I'm interested in seeing what the porn will be like, since it's already so permanent and performance-based prior, what people will do now to see that happen.
Any thoughts?
Well, I gotta tell you,
Twitter?
I just love this story because how personal is this for somebody like Al? Because Fleet actually was his nickname in college. Nevertheless, I mean, this is truly an interesting story. Whether we call it Fleet or Summer's Eve, just refresh.
I think it's interesting that Twitter and Fleet have become, in some way, a sponsor. Napoleon's allegiance to both brands and use of both brands so religiously has brought this news of.
I was trying to get Fleet Week, but didn't happen.
Well, and maybe this isn't a coincidence that Twitter is teaming up with Fleet Enemas, because this is Donald Trump's major form of communication, and it's totally full of shit.
Do you think that he might start tweeting things out on this Fleet new project, and then he's going to say that things didn't happen that actually did?
I think we've told the joke, America, and we're going to move on. We are telling you tonight we are broadcasting from our studio set in the middle of the World AIDS Museum and Education Center here in Wilton Manors in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. We joke we're coming from the gayest place on planet Earth. If you can hear any of sound behind us, an event is going on right now as a fundraiser for the World AIDS Museum, and Happening Out and Q News Tonight are big supporters of the World AIDS Museum. They have a fundraising event coming up on March 21st, the AIDS Walk, and if you participate, we'll continue between now and March 21. Tell you about that, but you want to support because there's a 2-for-1 match. We also thank our set designer, Concepto Modern Living, here in Fort Lauderdale, for helping us develop our new set. Before we close the show with the big finish, we do want to mention something that happened last night on Q News Tonight. We reported, I'm just holding it up in an old-fashioned way because we do not have any video incorporation in it, but we are reporting on a tweet. Last night we reported on the Israeli Tel Aviv Film Festival and 100 film makers boycotting the film festival, LGBT film makers boycotting it. We have received a tweet today, we've received a notice in our show string where the director of the film festival called Q News out specifically that they wished they had been asked or interviewed before we reported on the story. Today, they have issued a press release about the film festival and what their mission is and how their mission affects the Israeli government. We are going to comment on their notation tomorrow. At the beginning of next week at Q News Tonight. As we look into that, we will follow that up. Next, we have the big finish. There are many stories today we only want to mention. Let's see if Aaron and Napoleon and I can entertain each other as we have a lightning round on the LGBT stories of the day and news with an LGBT perspective. We will try not to talk very long, and we'll move very quickly in our big finish. We all understand?
Yes.
All right, here we are at Q News Tonight, the big finish. Story number 1 today, the big finish. Katy Perry is pregnant, she announces today, with Orlando Bloom's baby.
Isn't anybody else putting this in juxtaposition to the story of her fainting on set the other day and what this might have? No, okay. Dead silence. We'll move on from that.
No, I'm really happy for her personally after watching her Part of Me special and her very public divorce with Russell Brand. I'm happy that she finally has found happiness.
It seems to me that Joe Biden, it looks like, is the only one, is not the only one with a pronounced bump this week in the news. We report in the big finish in Indiana, an Olive Garden customer demanded a non-black server, and the manager complied.
Since when does Mike Pence eat at Olive Garden? I mean, come on. Come on.
Were you saying that he was the person that was complaining or the manager that was there? Because I could see that going either way.
I'm saying our vice president is a racist.
I'm reading right from the marketing piece in Indiana's Olive Gardens, endless salad, endless breadsticks, and the Indiana special, endless racism. The big finish. Ricky Martin and Enrique Iglesias announced today that they're going on tour together.
It sounds like a 2-for-1 I could get behind.
Oh, you wish you could get behind that. That's a good idea there. I can't wait for the men.com role-playing scene of this. It's going to be incredible.
Shake your bum, shake your butt. I'm sorry, were you all talking? Because I don't remember anything. In the big finish, Indiana Republican says Mayor Pete is, quote unquote, used to being sexually assaulted by men like Joe Biden.
This was a state senator in Indiana named Mike Young that made these homophobic comments, and there is no joking here for me personally. I find them to be very homophobic, inappropriate, and shame on him.
It's funny, actually, because right after this, he went to Olive Garden.
What does a state senator from Indiana say in bed? Who's your daddy? The big finish. Trump sees coronavirus as a winner for him in November.
Coincidentally, I see Trump as a loser in November.
I'm glad that the media prepared us because we all know that winter is indeed coming.
Did you know that Trump this week, this is a fact, said about coronavirus, quote unquote, there is a very good chance you're not going to die. There's nothing more to say. Big finish. Bernie goes after Biden for being backed by billionaires and the corporate establishment.
If people of color and the elderly and suburban women are the corporate establishment, I think Bernie has another thing coming.
He's pointing out things that might be true, but it's not going to get him elected. So either way, just shut your mouth and support the Democratic Party, because why are we still fighting?
The president is not afraid of Bernie Sanders. He's deathly afraid of Joe Biden.
Yep.
The big finish. On this day in 1770, the Boston Massacre occurs, further galvanizing anti-British sentiment.
And this week in 2020, there was another Boston Massacre, which also is known as the end of Elizabeth Warren's presidential campaign.
This was 250 years ago. Fortunately, we can rest assured that police now have no more problems with shootings with our civilization.
We are hoping on Aaron's joke that Joe Biden and the campaign pay attention to women, black people, Latino people, and gay people. That's the only way to prevent a massacre on November 3rd. That is today's news for the LGBT community and the world's first daily gay evening news show. Remember, if it's important to the LGBT community, it's important to Q News tonight. We are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. And this is Q News tonight. We'll see you every night at 7. Good night.